Okay, before I discuss a little bit into the general flow about hw6 server.cpp, I just wonder, is there any question about homework 6 in general before I gave you more information about the update function?
Hi, Professor. I was wondering, I know that you said for persistence that you would recommend storing the posts and the O keys as like files on our hard drive. Is it okay though if we just leave it in memory?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You
Okay,
can
so we
leave it
won't
in
get
the
doxxed
memory.
for that.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
For just the for just homework 6, yeah, that's fine.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other issue? So, okay, I'm going to pull out my screen and tell you what I want to tell you a little bit about this program. Okay, so I assume, let me see, where do I share my screen here? Okay. Okay, I hope you can all see my screen. So the window in front of you is my implementation for hw6 server.cpp, the update function. I would like to go over the flow of the code a little bit to give you more information, because your reference implementation essentially is empty over here. And I would like to give you some hints about how to do this part appropriately. Of course, this is based on the assumption I'm going to store everything on the file. If you do keep it in the memory, you might need to do certain things somewhat differently. Okay, so at the beginning, this part, you can see that this part is just for me to declare some variable, so it's not that important. But you see that I have like a file. I have some kind of error code, default error code I define. But the important thing for you to know is that the one I actually received from the client, from the hw6 update.cpp, the JSON is the updating JSON. So essentially, somebody make a new comment, somebody make certain thing, they need to send whatever JSON over there to the server, and the server will receive now as a big JSON. Okay, so I just want to tell you that I actually have a function which I included in post.cpp, and one of them is called my print log. So gradually you will realize this kind of facility is quite handy for you to be able to print something to the log, for you to actually log in all your information when you're doing this kind of client-server implementation. So a implementation for the my print log is included. So essentially, my print log has take two strings. The first string is actually the content you would like to write it to the log file. And of course, the log file is going to append. And the second string is actually the name of the log file. So essentially, this my print log is actually going to print this particular JSON into the hw6 server underscore update.log. Okay, so that's just the print log. Okay, so then I'm going to tell you there was a few things I did which you might see it familiar when you develop the early homework, but there are certain things which is somewhat I have to do in order to make sure that the server won't crash. I mean, part of the reason I would like to share this with you is that it's interesting that when we develop this, how can you develop a server that's actually robust? You can see that the small program server crash here and there, and the hw1, 2, 3, their server crash here and there. But at the end of the quarter, when we approach the last homework 6, during the spring quarter, I actually make the server very robust, means that it checks for everything that's actually causing the server to crash. Okay, so now I want to share with you, just see how, what kind of check you need to do in order to make sure that things are doing okay. Because there is a facility of the function over there in the post.cpp to support many of the check. Okay, so the first thing I check, you can see that the first thing I check is that check the first character is a curly bracket or not. Okay, the first thing I check is curly bracket. And there is a to check. You see that this lines of code, I'm actually really parsing the JSON. So this is really cause for me to take that string format JSON called updating JSON, and I actually convert it to this JSON value object called my v message. So until here, I'm doing that. Okay, if I take a look at this piece of code, this piece of code should be really familiar to you by now. Okay, my parse JSON, this code is defined in post.cpp. This is called my parse JSON. Okay, this is the code. That's actually, I took the segment of code into a function called my parse JSON, but you should familiar with the code. It's just using the JSON care reader builder and care reader, and then using this reader parse program to do that, right? And then it check whether it's successful. That's it. So I kind of put that code in there, the code you're familiar with, but now it's called a function, okay? All right, so you can see that before I even send the JSON that I receive from the input to this my parse JSON function, I actually did to check. Okay, I did to check. And the thing is that why I had this to check, historically, the reason was very simple, because if I didn't check this two thing, you could potentially send me a JSON that's actually crashed the, not just crash the server, you crash the library of the JSON parsing library, the code that provide with JSON CPP. So this is interesting, something which I didn't tell you earlier, that JSON CPP has been developed for a long time, and it's actually very, very popular. A lot of people using anywhere you want to do JSON processing with C++, you use this JSON CPP library. But this library has bug. This library does not against, if you're feeding a string with a random character with a lot of strange things, and it will crash. Okay, so that's why the first thing is that it has to be a curly bracket. Okay, the first word has to be curly bracket or bracket, either curly bracket, otherwise it's not a JSON. So you have to check that. The second check I have, some of you already noticed this, is called check a big ID. What do I mean by check big ID? Because sometimes the student, you can actually do this experiment yourself, is that if you make a JSON, make a string that's extremely long, I'm not talking about a few hundred bytes, a few thousand bytes. I actually got a JSON which has about 500,000 bytes just for the ID part. And therefore, we have to basically check that before we send that to the JSON CPP library. Okay, for homework assignment number 6, you don't need to worry about this. We're assuming that your program will be tested against reasonable JSON. But I just want to show you, just as a instruction moment, that sometimes to handle client-server programming, you have to consider the worst case. Okay, so after this to check, that now your JSON is safely to actually put into my parse JSON, which is the code you have been using. Okay, and then what I did, is that I tried to say, okay, if I have this, I want to know whether this JSON indeed has an ID. If the JSON doesn't have an ID, then essentially we don't even need to do that. So this particular part is just checking whether this post JSON indeed has ID that we can process. Okay, and this part is a further check. Okay, there was some of the kind of stress testing that's actually from certain VSID last time. It actually tried to saturate the server and nobody can actually do anything. So we actually try to deal with that as well. So we're going to split this part, but here is the part I really want to work with you. So this is the part which I start to deal with the post ID. So I already got the ID. I got this ID from my vMessage ID as I checked it earlier. So I have this ID which I extracted from your JSON. And then I actually generate a name because I know this ID is going to help me to identify a potential post is already stored in my post directory. Therefore, I actually using this line of code just generate the name of the file. Using the ID and then using sprintf, that's the one of the function you can do that. And I just generate this variable fname_buff is trying to give you the file name for you to be able to access the file if that file exists. Okay, so now you should see that we have two routes. One route is that if that file already exists, there's two possibilities. That post is already exists, then that become a what I call a merge scenario. Means that I'm actually going to read that file, that post JSON, read that file into my program, and then I want to convert it using JDump because I use that file as input. When I read it in, it becomes a string, and that string become using the JDump, and then it became a post object, and then basically now I using the update JSON, also doing JDump, and then I can actually, that JDump become a merge with this two. That's the case number one. Case number two, this file that underscore whatever ID.json does not exist. Then the problem is still the same. I'm actually producing a post, and based on only the updating JSON I just received. Okay, in either case, I'm actually going to save it back. I'm going to save the file back to this file. The result of the merge, I'm going to save it back over here. Okay, so that's what is the general flow for the bullet number 1 and bullet number 2. Okay, bullet number 3 is about saving the OKey. I'm going to show you later. But I'm going to unshare my screen just a moment to roll down to the code that's actually related to that part. Hold on 1 second. One second, I want to make sure that I'm just showing you enough for you to see the part. Okay, this piece of code, I actually oh, I'm sorry, I haven't shared my screen, sorry. Okay, this is a piece of code that's actually included in the post.cpp. Okay, inside the post.cpp into JDump. I have to go up a little bit. So you should already have this code, but this is Control R, JDump. Okay, this is under this function called post, colon, JDump. If you go to the keys, this section is just section by section, but this is the last section that this section of code is actually different. They'll only make a difference between the post.cpp you receive from homework assignment number 5 versus homework assignment number 6. Okay, so this extra section, I think if you look at your homework 5 post.cpp, it will end here. It's published, that's it. But then with this new code, it actually have a keys. So the first part is just handling the input from the update that you have this key. And the thing is that the important thing I want to show you is this part, is that I actually obtained the key. And this is essentially an array of every single thing I can extract from the keyword. And then I use that keyword, which is this part, using L_JV.sString, which is the function I actually converted from this line of code. So this is, just to let you know, this is the loop. This is a loop that you actually go through every single key. So when you get into each iteration, you're going to handle one keyword. And for the one keyword, I actually develop a function called convert key, which convert key itself is also in post.cpp. And the reason I have this convert key is for two reasons. Number one, I want to make sure all the key become lowercase, so it's a case insensitive. And the second thing is also about server robustness, is that every single key, I actually check whether you have some kind of strange character. You have some strange character, sometimes it causing the processing to be more complicated, or you have some kind of different kind of encoding. So essentially, convert key will make sure that the key you have is converted, number one, to a specific format, and also make sure that the key itself is not going to causing any kind of string processing issue. And based on that key, which is now is this function, and then we basically generate this file. Okay, we generate this file over here, and in fact, I actually realized I have this part. It shouldn't be. I just realized when I look at the code, this part actually shouldn't be this. It should be key_s. Okay, this part. Sorry, let me actually just change this. I didn't actually detect the error because I didn't test hard enough. Let me actually do a real-time bugs fixing. This actually should be this, because sometimes the convert key might actually convert the key to be something different. Okay, so this should be key S. Okay, so with this key S, that you can see that I open the file that under this OK directory, OK_%s.list. And what I did is I just write this ID part, profile ID and post ID, into a string called target. But then the thing is that I'm actually write that into the file OKF, which I just opened, and I write it to that. So that's how the update work for this three part. First, you actually be able to check whether this is a merge, this update, make sure everything is formatted correctly, and then you can actually just write it using, in fact, if you're following this reference code, if you actually fix that bug, you can actually use the code as it is. It will automatically save it. But then in your search, which I did not show you, you need to figure out how do you actually extract it back. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop here. And any question? Any question for homework 6?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
So you go ahead.
okay. Is it okay if instead of using like the library they use to print, so like to make a file, so like sprint and all that, is it okay if we use fstream?
Of course.
Okay.
You can use whatever library you like to do. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
But the important thing when we grade it, we're actually going to look at the update and the search, whether they interact everything correctly.
All right.
Okay, so I mean, one of the group asked me this question, I think, I forgot, is yesterday or Monday. How your group is going to collaborate is actually interesting. Of course, some of your group members are going to develop this function, some of the group members is going to do testing. And one of the idea for doing testing is that this is essentially what we like to grade your homework, is that you have one user who first update the post. So you write a post without any comment and without any like. You actually update the post, but with a keyword. The keyword say COVID vaccine news or something like that. And the other team member will use that keyword to do the search and then get it back. So the second student is going to have the JSON. And then he's going to manually, just using the JSON, to add a new comment or new reaction. And then he will do update again. And then the first student will then use the same keyword to actually search. So he will actually now receive a JSON, which is not just his original post, but also with other people's comments and reaction. So you can think about this as a very simple way for us to be able to communicate like a social media using this. So that's the scenario we're going to test. Regardless how you're going to do the merge, how you're going to save the keyword, that's purely your decision. All right?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor? Yes. So generally speaking, are we allowed to do add more different functionality to the update, for example? Because I think I did it differently to the way you did it.
Well, you can add any kind of functionality, but the thing is, you must be able to support the scenario I just talked about, to allow people to use this two function to be able to update a new say a post regarding comment, regarding any kind of the feature, and then you allow people to actually search using the keyword, and then you will be able to update again after you make new comment and new reaction. Yeah, that is a basic functionality you need to support. Let me tell you that one of the extra feature, I mean, Saeed, you asked an interesting question, because one of the group last year, they did something extra, which is, I kind of suggest that they can try those things, but they did it anyway. This was not required. So what they did is they can not only search by keyword, they can also search by created time and update time. So if you notice that inside the post.cpp, we have the update time and we have created time.
Created time.
So you potentially can say, I want to search based on the time, which is the newest one. And don't give me everything. Just give me 5 of the newest posts that related to this keyword, or actually 5 of the posts, regardless any keyword. Just, I don't want to match any keyword, but you gave me 5 newest posts in your system. I mean, there potentially you can do things like, if you do search, you can say, I want to match not for keyword, but a particular author. that this author called Saif with VSID, whatever, you can do that as well. I mean, it's up to you, but you must support the basic functionality.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other issue? All right, I'm going to stop recording.